Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Heritage Advisory Committee meeting. The meeting is called to order at 1:08 p.m. Please note that the meeting is video and audio recorded, and all electronic meetings are uploaded to the municipality's YouTube page. By registering to participate in the meeting by electronic means, you are consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. I will now read the township's recognition statement. The township is currently developing a formal land acknowledgement statement. We recognize that when the first Euro-Canadian settlers arrived in what is now Puslinch Township, the Anishinaabe, ancestors of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, had long established hunt camps in the area. Through written and verbal accounts, we understand that the Anishinaabe interacted with the settlers in a friendly and cooperative manner. It is acknowledged that the development of the township encroached upon their traditional way of life, resulting in their displacement. I'll now do a roll call for those in attendance. Councillor Russell Hurst. Absent. Andy Day.
Present.
Christine O'Brien.
Here I am.
Josh Heller, also absent. We'll take a minute now for a pause for reflection, please. Confirmation of the agenda. Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda? If none, Laura, would you mind reading the resolution?
The Heritage Advisory Committee approves the November 6, 2023 agenda as circulated.
Can I get a
I'll move
mover?
that. Yep.
Second.
Second.
Any disclosure of conflict of interest?
What do will we deal with churches today?
We looked at it. I don't believe so, but that will, yeah. So no. And delegations, we did not originally have an agenda with the agenda did not originally have a delegation, but we have Marilyn Crowe in the gallery. But to have this presentation, we will need to make a motion to approve the delegation. Does I have?
I'll move that.
In a second. We don't need a resolution.
I can do a resolution after she
Okay,
presents.
sure. Marilyn, would you like to present to us?
Sure.
Thank you.
I was asked back in August and whether I'd come to September or this one, and I did reply that I would be at this one, so somehow that little bit of communication, I guess, was not completed.
Apologies.
So I'm here at your request.
And we thank you for that.
I'm going to, this looks like a lot, but it's actually just briefly showing some of the things we have that would be of interest. And I will say that I had one plaque left, which should go to your committee because you're still plaquing, I hope. And bookmarks that we used to give out at Canada.
Oh, okay. Oh, excellent. Look at that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we talked about these.
And if you remember, the Doors of Puslinch poster in the township office, those pictures are from that.
Right.
Mhm. All right.
I can get your
you
presentation
put-
up here.
And yes, you're welcome to keep this, and we will also have this in our archives. So I was asked to explain the correlation between our two committees, the Puslinch Historical Society and the Puslinch Heritage Committee. And I know you're now the Municipal Heritage Advisory Committee, but I've just been calling you PHC and our group PHS. Who's doing the slide?
Me. There you go. Oh. I thought you would be able to see it, because I can see the next slide. Maybe, there you go.
There. So the Puslinch Historical Society was formed in 1984, and I'm not going to read everything off of here. Part of the point was whenever we do a presentation involving explanations about the archives, that you have this to actually read at any time. And I just want to say that we were invited to an informal coffee gathering at the Collins's house, Gary and Stan Collins, and they knew that there were several, like Marjorie Clark and myself, in the township who were doing genealogies, and so they asked us to this coffee flash. And then we agreed because they asked us if we would think of forming a committee the same as they belonged to at that time, the Guelph Historical Society. So it took a bit of organization and finding volunteers because we're always a volunteer organization. We're not a committee of council. So they gave us that little corner in the original library that was here before they actually decided to take it down and build a new one. And so you can see we had flat files because we had maps and county atlases, which are very large books. And the township actually got those from us when we moved into the new library because it had built-in long drawers for us, and they said they could use it for maps. So I haven't been into the inner rooms for a while, but it was always in the photocopy room with maps for your use as well. I keep looking at the wrong person. So 2 years later, it was mandated by the province that each municipality create a LACAC, a local architectural conservancy committee. And the council at that time came to the Historical Society and asked for 2 people who would come on to that committee, and then they were going to advertise for 3 others. So we were 5 at the time. And so it actually followed just 2 years after the Historical Society was formed. And initially we went up to the Wellington County Museum because there was a professor in Guelph, Gordon Cooling, some of you may have heard of him. And it was his hobby, not part of his work, but he went around the whole county taking pictures of heritage buildings. And we had already had a night, the Historical Society had a public night for people from Puslinch to come and see those slides. So we made trips to the Wellington County Museum to copy any of them, of course, with their permission, that had to do with Puslinch. And that was our start of our collection. Nothing listed, nothing like that at that time. And then we began collecting from people in the township that we knew had already done genealogies to use the Puslinch Pioneer for letting the public know what we were doing and asking if others were interested in joining the committee. And so it grew pretty quickly. We held many public events, but this is just a picture from one of them in the old, it's not old, it's the current Aberfoyle School gymnasium, where we had members of the society bring things from, most of us were on farms, and bring things from the past that might be of interest to the public. So anytime we have an event, it's for the whole township. It's not just for a specific group of people. So that was 1987. As that happened, our collection grew and the corner in the library was no longer suitable. So we came to council. They knew we were coming about this and letting them know that we needed more room. So you can see the back row is all executive from the Historical Society. And then the front row seated are the councillors, and Brad Whitcomb was the mayor at the time. And they gave us, now I don't even know since renovations, but the little room where the OPP were, you still have that little room? Well, that's where they let us move our collection. So we at least had a little bit more room than that corner in the library. And it was a big help to us. So that was 2002. I did this because I would be all over the place telling you things and it might keep it in order. And of course, over the years, we have had collaborations with our members, many of them who enjoy writing. And so one of the first things that came was in 1950, the township had done a book called The Annals of Puslinch. And all of these books are in the archives for you to look at any time. These are my own copies. But work done at that time, nobody knew how to use the computer. There was no computer in 1950, and so there was no index. And it's a huge help when you're looking for either lot histories or family histories, but it takes a long time. So one of the first projects we did was an actual index to the Annals of Puslinch, and it's by name, by trade, and so on. And so I use that all the time. And then the millennium came along and we decided to do an update from that 1950 time. And it was the year 2000, and we weren't really wanting to do the same thing that they had done because they did genealogies and lot histories. We wanted the general history of the township. So this book should be of interest to anybody who has anything to do with township history. And it is indexed because everything we do is indexed, but it was done by topics. I'm going to read a couple native plants, gravel history, sport, consumer trends, the church and Puslinch, sense of community, livestock, agricultural practices, housekeeping, food and nutrition, domestic arts, waste management. And each one of those topics was divided into 3 sections from 1850 to 1900, from 1900 to 1950, and from 1950 to 2000. So it's a very different book from the other one. But that was our millennial project. Yeah, I think you can. Oh, there was a picture of a book launch. We've done many different types of events, and that one was one of Anna Jackson's books being presented to our MPP at the time, Brenda Chamberlain. We like to do presentations just like this, because when people come to a meeting, it's in our archives, so that's a help that it's been recorded, but also you have a topic and you can gather all the things from the archives relating to that topic and have an interesting evening. So these are some of the ones we've done. Well, I think it's most of the ones. Rural Harvests in 2011, Morriston Village in 2011, because I was asked by the Architectural Conservancy of Ontario to come and bring that presentation to them. That everybody was talking about the bypass for Morriston at the time. So that was related to that. 2011 Puslinch, Devon, England, where the township got its name, and it's a big estate that was the home of the very first Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. That might not be the right name, but Sir John Colborne. His wife had grown up in this actual estate in England, and he named this township after her birthplace. So that's where it came from. And there's a whole presentation on it, not very long. Farming in Puslinch, Decades of Achievement. The Agricultural Society asked us to put this on at the Fall Fair because they were having their 175th anniversary. And we gathered all we could from our archives and donations over the years that would give the whole history. Puslinch Landscape and Settlement, Geography, Wildlife, and so on. That was just for our own group. I haven't taken that one out of the township at all. The communities in Puslinch, you'll note at the end, I've put down that you should see our website, which is the 2 words Puslinch Historical without any space in between and lowercase .ca. Because this presentation we did put online. There was so much reaction to it. It was given in 3 different communities. And they were explaining the school section, the old school sections from each of those. So it was given in Arkle, it was given in Badna, it was given in Crieff. And lots of pictures, lots of history, and it's there for you to look at your home computer. So when you go onto the website, you go into research, and then you'll see the communities in Puslinch. It had to be posted in 3 different sections because it's so large a file. The First Peoples of Puslinch, we had gathered what we could, and of course it's been used by other groups in the township and by the Pioneer, because we have a lot of the original letters from the township people and talking about interaction in the early days with First Nations people. Milling in Puslinch, that was in 2018, and a public meeting. And then Victoria Street, Morriston. I would assume that all of you were aware of the street behind the highway. If you go down Church Street and in behind, and all along there are many of the original buildings, and they represent many different architectural features. So we had been asked to do a walk, and we had on a Sunday afternoon, people came and we explained all those histories. Well, then they said, of course, oh no, you have to write this down. So we had another little presentation we had to do, but it's an interesting one. Okay. Oh, sorry, I keep looking at you because I got it here when I came in. So our parallel universes. Often we're asked to be at the same events, and this is one at the Wellington County Museum in 2004. They had an anniversary, and I didn't put how many years because I just put this together yesterday and I couldn't remember how many years, but I think it was 125. So on the left, you will see Diane Williamson and myself. We were presenting for the Heritage Committee, and on the right, this is Canada Day poster, which I brought with me in case you haven't seen it. from the Historical Society. And the day of the County Museum, our Historical Society was also there, but I was chair of our Heritage Committee at the time. And we had the unveiling of the Doors of Puslinch poster, which I assume you've all seen. It was hanging in the township office. I hope it is still somewhere. They've changed everything so much. Yeah, so the girl it's okay, the girl on the left in the 2017 sesquicentennial presentation, that's at the township hall. And the reason that it was, have you all seen it? It was hanging out by the washrooms on that brick wall. There, let me come, you have me. We hold the corners. So council came to us, the Historical Society, because they knew we had the photo archive. And they asked us if we would put something together for the 170.
150? 150, it says at the top.
150th anniversary of Confederation. And so we gathered the early pictures, first township hall and the parades by the school children. There's a man at one of the outdoor socials where he's doing a Highland dance of some type. The middle picture, I was looking to see, you have Morriston, but you don't have this one of Aberfoyle, but it just is incredible that that was what the village looked like at 1900. And then these are the township hall, and the little building right here was the first fire hall we had. And of course, it only held one truck. So when they were building this facility, they also built a proper fire hall for the township. But it is interesting how things start out very small and continue to grow. And then we wanted to put a history of everything that was on the site of these, not these grounds, but where the community center is. And so we have the buildings as they were then, and then we have the buildings as they are now. And I was approached just before the pandemic by the Recreation Commission, because they now want to take that poster down. And I said, well, you have to go to council, because it was, they asked for it, and I can't tell you, yes, you can. But they want to do some kind of wall with recognition of volunteers in the township, display on that brick wall. So whatever they do with it, I hope it's still in a prominent place, because when people come into dances and they're standing around, somebody's gone into the washroom, this is in the vestibule area, they are usually very interested to see how much it has changed. So that's one thing that I have no idea what's happened to it. Oop. I hope you signal her. And there's another time, Canada Day. They always ask the local groups to come out and put up their displays. So here you have our display for the Historical Society, and Betty Ferguson was manning it that year. And on the right, you have the 2014 Canada Day display by your committee. And I was chair at the time, so I put that together. But I think even looking at it, you'll see the differences in the type of work that we do. And I have a slide that kind of explains that a little more. So visual presentations, in 2000, we presented to the owners of the heritage sites. The township had a lot of millennial projects, the Millennial Garden. Our group the Heritage Group was doing the beginning of a site registry. And so all of the owners had been invited to an unveiling of the plaque, the first plaque that went out. And then in those days, I was a teacher, so we used to do things, if you remember, on slides and put them on a projector. So these are actually from that evening. And you'll see that we started with the earliest buildings, and we went through many different architectural features. And then, can you see? You'll get the idea. And then actually the doors poster came from this idea, because I did first the windows and then I did the doors. I may be out of order here. No, that's the stonemasons. Then, no, wait a minute, what did I do? There is one for the door. More stonemasons work. There's a lot of features in how the buildings were built. It's all recorded here. You think it's in here? I think it's in here. I wasn't going to show you this many. Still different style of architecture. Maybe it's the last one. Did a look this morning.
It's a fairness.
Yeah, that's the doors. And so we started at that time at 2000 with recording probably about 40 buildings. And of course, it's just grown constantly since that time. But it involved visiting sites. First of all, asking permission by the owners to even come on their grounds. That's been forever. And I had trouble with a couple of the committee members because they lived here their whole life and they just thought they could just go in these places. And I said, not if you're representing our committee, you're going to have to. And sometimes it was just a note in the mailbox, but they had to call back and let us know if it was okay for us to visit. I think that that site registry really illustrates, after it's grown too, that it's been the personal owners of those properties who have been the ones to care for them all this time. There's never been any money that the townships offered them. Some places do, where they, like in larger cities, where they can get some money towards doing a authentic roof or whatever. But this has all been on them, and it's their own pride in their own buildings. And there's so many of them that every time there was a new council, I used to come and do a slide presentation, just showing them all these heritage buildings that we have and work that you will never replace, work of carpenters and stonemasons that just will not happen again. People are updating them, and that's fine because you don't expect them to live with some of the early, like a house with no bathroom and so on. So as long as you identify which features you feel are to protect, then they will understand that, yes, it can change the windows or whatever it is that they think they need to do to make it a modern house. But I've really been pleased with the reaction to that night and how at every public event that we did after that and every presentation, the people were keen to take care of their properties. Okay. Now we hold many different kinds of events. We do put displays on at the fair and at Canada Day and so on, but the spirit walks were really well received. And what we did was we went to 5. We haven't done the one that's on concession 5, but all the bigger cemeteries, picked half a dozen people of interest in the cemetery. And then one of our members would prepare as much history as we knew about it, and then try to find someone who was a descendant to stand at the tombstone and read this story. And oh my, that man, Mr. Rappold, is a direct descendant of the Rappolds who lived in Morriston, where the Baines used to live. If any of you know, there's a nice little house back. How do I explain it? If you go down and turn where there is a little back road, I think it might even be called back road, and that corner house was the one, you can look at it in our records, but that corner house was the one that the stonemason Rappold lived in. He helped build the Morrison School, the addition that was put on the Duff's Church. That front belfry was not there before, and if you look at the stonework compared to the main building, you'll see that he did really sympathetic renovations at the time, as well as building complete buildings. Can you think of another couple he built? There's a couple in Morrison I know that he built. Oh, the Mackay House on Highway 6, where our barman and I'm drawing a blank. Don Mackay, yeah. Rappold built that, and it's a beautiful building architecturally. Then the last one is most recent. We were just coming out of the pandemic, and I was asked Well, of course, when I say I was asked, our committee was asked, and because I'm the photo archivist, I always get these jobs of putting these together, and it's easy for me. I did this yesterday, so you can see that it's easy for me, because I have the backup drive to our Heritage computer at my house. We didn't want to keep it in the archives in case something happened there. And I have all those photographs at my fingertips. So the Canadian branch of the McPherson Clan were having their weekend gathering, their annual meeting at Crieff Hills, and they asked someone from the Historical Society would give them the history of any McPhersons in Puslinch and any buildings they built, and they built several stone buildings, and so it's a beautiful presentation. They were so excited to see all of that, and of course, it was all brand new for them. So we feel that our job is preservation and outreach, education, because we want the township people who live here now to know and to also appreciate these things. Oh, wrong person. So our collection. We started with family histories done by genealogists, and that is constantly being updated. People who are doing them, we'd say to them, will you please give us a copy for the archives? And then that way, if somebody comes in and they're doing a family and we say, oh, we can already show you this much has been done, and they're usually amazed because the first people here were the ones who came from Scotland or Ireland or Germany. And then the photograph collection, the maps and historical atlases. In our file cabinet, the first couple of the first couple of cabinets are by surnames. So you might even be in there if you've been in the Pioneer, or usually we start a file and so it's right, we keep it as up to date as we can. And also subject files. So if somebody's going to write an article about something, we have a lot that's been saved about the water use, about gravel, about the different steel communities before the amalgamation, about elections, and I could go on, but those are by subject rather than by people. Then our own collection of newspaper articles, local authors' works, birth, deaths, and marriages are a big part of genealogy if people come in. So we have the records from all the local churches and so on. The Spirit of Walk narratives they're actually on the website too. So if you look at the communities of Puslinch, you can also read some spirit walks. But they're more family. They're not really anything to do with architecture. Books pertaining to Puslinch. We have the publications of our own group, which I think is coming up on a different slide. We have the Tweedsmuir books that came from the Women's Institutes. We have the copies of the reels from the Ontario Archives, the township papers. We paid to have the 4 reels for our township copied, and we have a little reader in the archives room. And that has the early letters that people wrote to York asking for a lot of some type in Ontario and saying, oh, my brother has come to Puslinch and we would like to settle there and so on. So they're all very early letters. Not every place, not every lot has that, but as many lot histories as possible. And on the website, you will see a list of which lots are in that, in case you're interested in that. Oral interviews. We did lots of tapes. What have I done with my? And of course, tapes became outdated. So then we moved to CDs and transferred the others to CDs. So this is mainly in the 80s and 90s, but you can see how many of the older Puslinch residents we were able to do an oral interview with. And families love this because when they listen, they say, we can hear his voice again. And it's very different from just reading a book. And so I had Paul McDonald did this for us. Some of you may know him. He's great in the computer. I had him make a copy on the USB, and we have that in the archives because obviously it's going to be more and more computers and you can't read a CD either. Visual presentations, the posters, the PowerPoint topics, and then our website. It's a lot of work to keep the website up, but a very useful tool. And I will say that more people contact us about their families through the computer now than walk in, because obviously they're all around the world. They find out, oh, my great grandpa went to this funny named place, and they don't know how to pronounce it, but we've had contact all over. So just last week, I'm working on one from Germany for a family from the Morrison German group of families. Council records, not all council records, but those that have historical interest to us, and military profiles for our meeting this tomorrow night is a public meeting at the library, and Robert McFarland is going to be reading from letters that his uncle wrote back to Puslinch in World War II. So there's a few different things, scrapbooks. We have a postcard collection. We have a binder with fall fair memories. They have a photo contest every year, and the winners of the photo contest, they give us, like, they're told they can't keep it, and they give it to us, so we've been putting together in a binder. So in 2011, there was a groundbreaking for the new library, and it was to become the Library and Archives, just like up in Wellington Place, which was just great. Because the room that we had and shared with the OPP was an inner room, no window, nowhere for people to write anything. They had to come out and sit in the council chambers when there was no council meeting on, obviously, to write down the information they were finding. And so right from the beginning with the architect, they asked the Historical Society members to be part of planning this, not this building, but the one is the current library. So you'll see on the left by Bain, who was our archivist at the time, now it's John Clark. Janet, and I can't remember her surname because it's not a simple surname. We'll have to find that out and fill it in. Frankie Shaw, they were librarians at the time. I was the photo archivist, and Betty Anderson was our president at the time. So all of us are standing up right in front of where they were digging the first shovel. And when the room was finished, council contacted us and said, we're modernizing these township offices and we don't want that big table. It's out in the front hall. And would you like it? And we said, of course we'd like it. That was the council table from the back of the old wooden hall, the first Aberfoyle Hall. They had a council meeting in the back. And we put a little plaque on it to say that that was the original council. But what a wonderful table for people who are working in the archives. It's just perfect. So looking around, this first on my left, that's the long drawer cabinets, and we've got maps and presentations and all our posters that we put up at Canada Day and so on in the flat files. Then the first two files of the filing cabinets are family histories. The next one is subject histories. The taller one has things like all the past fall fair catalogs, different miscellaneous things that are given to us, and one of them is my drawer because it's a photograph collection. On the back wall, starting on the left, that whole left-hand column is family histories that people have sent to us. And you can see there are a lot. The center section is all books about Puslinch. The top is general books about Puslinch, like the annals and so on. The next few shelves are by the old school community. So there's Arkle, Colleen, Crete, all these different communities who have prepared this type of thing. And so we keep them there. And then the last shelf, the right-hand column, those are all the collections of births, marriage, deaths, church records, because people come looking for those and the obituaries in particular are wonderful because they give a lot of genealogy as well as being an obituary, especially the early ones. Around the corner, you can't see, there's another wall just like that, and that's where we have the photograph collection, and we have the tapes and oral histories and CDs on different topics. All of these are in my computer, like the Historical Society computer, because obviously we want to treasure them. So when photographs come in, if they're paper photographs rather than digital, they go into a binder, they get cataloged, and we also make a scan and put it in the computer so that we have that as well. And then of course I always have to do a backup of all of that stuff so that we don't lose it if the computer fails. It's just endless trying to keep on top of storing all this information. But people like to come in and open the binder, see the actual pictures. So I made indexes for the back so that they didn't have to they could see if their family name was there at all and look for pictures that way. The front, of course, is the desk that we operate from when visitors come in. And the only other thing we have is just outside the door. I have a picture, but I didn't put it in. We have a display cabinet that we change from time to time just for people walking into the library to see. So you can see that our two committees and the people involved in those committees have all been, or have both been interacting all these years. And it's been important to have someone from the Historical Society on your committee because they are the ones who know those early histories. We've always sent you people that, Barb that just left, who knew and can help you. And we also want you to come and use the archives if you're looking for things. You can't borrow them, but you can work there because we just lose things if they go out. But also, you should know that in the library circulating are copies of those binders that we prepared of each site for the millennium and kept including, and then there's a binder about buildings that didn't meet the criteria. Then there's an agricultural binder. Those things, not the ones that didn't meet the criteria, but the ones that actually are sites that have been recognized, and all the agricultural ones, they can be checked out of the library. We have copies too, but you would just have to look at them in the room, but they are useful too if you are looking for architectural features, all kinds of different things. So hopefully that has helped you understand some of the work we do. The McFadder letters, those are real letters that were written at the request of a man by the name of McFadder in the township for the pioneers to send in the information about their parents and what happened when they came. And so that's done, of course, by family name. Anna Jackson, one of our members who's no longer living, did the complete history of Pussonch Lake, and they of course own one at the marina, and we have it in the archives. It's not a circulating copy, but if you need to know anything about Pussonch Lake, it will be in there. David Sturton was an early MP in Pussonch, and he encouraged the settlers to get their crown deeds. Everybody thinks the crown deed was given to them when it was listed in York back in 1820 or 1830, but it wasn't. And he was saying, you know, you have to prove that you have done, it was a simple thing. They had to be on the property so many years and build a structure and so on. But he encouraged them in the 1860s to get their crown deeds. So a lot of them applied, and that's thanks to David Sturton, who was a township resident and went on to be an MP. That one I showed you. Then we have members like Marjorie Clark, who are writing not under the Historical Society name, but they certainly put all of their writing into the archives. So this one on Badna was done by Marjorie and Lois McLean, who are both members of our group. And then this one is on marriages in Pussonch Township, just taken from the old records, and it's by Marjorie Clark. Marjorie has written a good number of histories that we have. And that's the summary of what we do and my understanding. I would love to stay if I can, because I'd like to know what you're dealing with now, because I know legislation has changed and it's a bit of a tough time right now to be on the committee, but it's important. It's important.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Marilyn. That's very informative.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to visiting the archives. And yes, of course, you're welcome to stay.
Thanks.
We'll continue on.
Yeah.
So are there any comments or questions to Marilyn? Oh, good.
Okay, so I can say a resolution
Okay.
that the delegation from Marilyn Crowe regarding the Pussonch Historical Society be received for information.
And its interaction with the Pussonch Heritage Committee.
I can
Hold on, we'll reword
That
that.
was the point of why I was asked.
Yes. Are you the mover? I'll second.
I consider the delegation from Marilyn Crowe regarding the Pussonch Historical Society and its interaction with the Heritage Advisory Committee be received for information.
Mover, seconder, yeah, all in favor? Yeah, I forgot that last one. Okay, next item is number 7, the consent agenda. We'll just, if we can, we'll consent to all 3 of them at once. So 7.1 is that all right? September 11th Heritage Advisory Committee meetings. The second is October 23rd Special Heritage Advisory Committee meeting minutes, and 7.3 is the 2023 September edition of the Ontario Historical Society Bulletin. So moved. we're good to move and second. Thank you
Of the
very much.
consent agenda listed for the November 6, 2023 Heritage Advisory Committee be received for information.
Mover, seconder, we're all good. All in favor? Okay, so on to item number 8. We have some committee reports. 8.1 is the HER 2023-021 Radio Communications Tower Subcommittee. We'll just get Laura to give us a brief overview.
Mhm. So the purpose of this report is to appoint 2 members of the committee to the subcommittee. And the subcommittee will submit comments on behalf of the Heritage Committee when there is a proposed radio communication tower application located on or in close proximity to a property that is on the Heritage Register.
I believe that was 3 times the distance from the tower, height distance,
3 times the
3 times the
So
tower height distance.
this subcommittee will look at it if the property is within 3 times the height of the tower, yes.
Right. So,
Through you, Madam Chair, just for a point of clarification, so it'll be if the property falls within the notification requirement, as you know, the 3 times the height of the tower, or if it's adjacent to the proposed lands, or if it's on a proposed property that's listed or designated.
perfect, thank you. Any questions or comments on that? You ready to approve someone? Would one of the 2 of you like to be part of that committee? It doesn't sound like it's very frequent. We got Andy and Russell. Oh, so we're good on that then?
I'll move that they be appointed.
For a resolution?
Yeah,
Okay.
resolution would be that staff report HER 2023-021 entitled Radio Communication Tower Subcommittee be received for information. And that Councillor Russell Hurst and Andy Day be appointed to the Radio Communications Tower Subcommittee.
Move that. Andy and second it, thank you. Carried. Oh, that's fun. Carried. 8.2 item is report HER 2023-022, which are the properties for designation for the next year, 2024. I think we all had that in the minutes, but Laura can give us a.
So the purpose of this report is to recommend to council a list of priority properties for designation for 2024. So staff made this recommendation based on the priority ranking analysis done by the Township's 2023 Heritage Summer Student. And then from here, the committee will kind of follow the same process as they did this past year, reviewing the cultural heritage value or interest statements. And then it's also important to note that we have until January 1st, 2025 to designate the remaining properties that are on the Township's Heritage Register. That's the date.
For 5 years.
Mhm.
Okay. Any questions or comments? We did take a quick look. It doesn't appear to be a conflict for you with churches. And I will summarize what my finding was. I think the student just took the next best batch from that, the registry. So we'll continue on with that. Did you already read the resolution? Would you like to?
No, I'll have to.
Can I ask if Bibby Ridge is on
Sorry,
it? Bibby Ridge Farm is on
I don't.
Do you have the street
I
address?
don't think it.
We beat concession 5, and it actually should be a national heritage site, but we have flagged it obviously, and I think I'm surprised the student didn't recommend it, because it was a place after the war that they sent young men to train in agriculture, but it's a beautiful, huge stone house, and the whole history of it is in the binders that you have, if you take a look at it. The only one I'd be concerned to be missed.
Thank you. That's very valuable feedback because we're all new to this. That's great. I don't know that it's identified. We just have a list of addresses right now.
Mhm. So it'd be concession 5.
Can we add,
It's the very northwest corner of the township.
can we add that to it or do we probably currently the
Through you, Madam Chair,
homeowners? Yes.
the Tom Saracen House / Finley Bridge House is included
Oh, it is.
in the list for proposed designations in 2020.
Perfect. Thank you.
I can read the resolution. if
Perfect.
you-
Thank you.
That report HER 2023-022 regarding the properties for heritage designation in 2024 be received for information. And that the Heritage Advisory Committee recommend the following properties for council's consideration as the priority properties for designation in 2024. Bear with me, I'll say them. 4856 Side Road 10 North, 6714 Concession 1, 7094 Concession 1, 4162 Highway 6, 7618 Leslie Road West, 8 Brock Road North, 413 Arkle Road, 6 Victoria Street, 7839 Wellington Road 34, 56 Queen Street, 4726 Watson Road South, 4855 Pioneer Trail, 4347 Concession 11, 4677 Watson Road South, 69 Queen Street, 6592 Concession 1, 7751 Maltby Road East, 66981 Concession 4, 4556 Side Road 20 North.
Are you ready to agree on that?
There is one here where I have a conflict. Does that need to be, like, is that of any consequence at this point?
Oh, right, we were looking for churches, but to you,
Mhm.
it's part of,
7094 is one of the properties I am responsible for.
um,
Does it need to be declared at this time? Yeah, great. Let me declare a conflict of interest.
okay, we missed that one. We were looking for churches.
Yeah, we're looking for churches. That also is by the
That means
church.
we can't vote on that one because we don't have
We won't have quorum.
that property,
Mhm.
so you can do all of them, but that one is my understanding.
You can defer that to the,
Yeah. So we can just change the resolution to having all those properties, and then we'll say, and that 77094 concession 1, 7094 concession 1 property,
just remove it from the list and we can note it as a staff.
we'll get it. Sounds good, so the resolution will be the same, other than 7094 concession 1 just won't be included in it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna double check one of the other addresses.
Kind of protected anyway, unfortunately.
Hold on. Someone's had that problem. Yeah. That's what I want.
Okay, so. Okay, the resolution is the same, other than 7094 concession 1 will not be included in.
So we're good to go. We got a mover.
Yeah, I'll second, yeah. As long as that's been removed, I'm
Mhm.
okay.
We've got to vote. All in favor? Carried. Item 8.3, report EGR 2023-023, the plaque replacement and update. Or we have an update?
Yeah, the purpose of this report is to establish a plaque replacement subcommittee to kind of determine the priority of properties for replacement of plaques. So the township currently has around 10 plaques in the township office, and then staff are recommending that those plaques go to replacing the plaques of the properties that are going to become designated
If needed.
if needed.
So it's an assessment first. Any other questions or comments? I think we had one question from Russell, just if it's the same plaque, and I believe the answer is yes. Whether it's designated or listed, right?
That's correct. Is there any interest on the subcommittee, or we can defer if necessary?
I don't mind being on the subcommittee for that. If we can get one more name, we're good to go, just to assess
just-
the
I was
plaque.
gonna say, I'm just gonna say that I have another property on here that impacts my life, so.
You're good.
Just so that
Okay,
you know
so-
that I try to be super transparent, so we actually have 3 of these on our property currently, so I just been looking through. the list of that.
Oh, there's a couple.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Was it one of the 19?
Well, that 7094 is listed here. On our little chart of plaques. Oh, of plaques,
Okay, but for,
that's all I'm telling you, is as you talk about plaques.
oh, okay.
I'm feeling very
But it needs-
paranoid about making sure I declare
Is it
everything.
in good shape though?
Yeah, they're in great shape, actually, I love them.
They're beautiful. plaques.
Yes,
Okay, so,
if you're willing to do it, then we can give you that job.
well, we need, I think, one more to do it. The request was for 2. You don't want to be part of that? It's just looking at a plaque and making sure it's good, I think.
I can, I
So I'm
like them.
just, okay, so.
Just a little aside on this is that when we had to decide which property to put on the plaque, you realize, once you get into this, looking at the sites, that a lot of them are families. And we were sure that if we picked one, they would say, well, why didn't you pick our property and so on. But that house on the back street in Morrison that's on the plaque was
Okay.
one that at the time had changed hands many, many times, didn't have that depth of history. And so Gail Kerr, who's a member of our group, designed that for the Heritage Committee in 2000. And then a township resident who is a tool and die maker, no, a pattern maker, actually cast the blocks for us.
Beautiful, thank you for that. I
If
kind
you
of wonder,
haven't seen it, it's on the back street in Morrison.
I'm gonna drive right by. Okay, so we
I can
have
read the
a, thank
resolution
you.
for that report. Yeah, that report HER 2023-023 entitled Plaque Replacement Update be received for information. And that the Heritage Advisory Committee establish a plaque replacement subcommittee to determine the priority properties for replacement. And that the following members be appointed to the subcommittee. We have Lily Clammer and Christine O'Brien.
Okay,
My only question while that motion's on the floor is, we were collecting, students needed to do things in the summer. Is this not the kind of thing a student could do?
I might say to that, that it probably needs, that we could probably utilize the student as a resource, but I would think that we need someone, in my personal opinion, that we would need someone to kind of stay consistent with it.
Yeah, we could have, for example, the student send out a letter to the property owners asking the quality of their plaque. You could have them do.
Yeah.
For example.
Or as we
Mhm.
designate and we do a site visit, it might be, just snap a shot when you're there or something. Yeah, we can come up with something, but, so the resolution was okay as
Mhm.
read and, right motion.
We'll move in second.
Woohoo. I will carry that.
Who was moved versus second?
That's made it.
Either one is fine.
Are you ready?
Mhm.
You good? Okay, so item 8.4 is for report HER 2023-024 for goals and objectives. We can get Laura's.
So the purpose of this report is to review the current goals and objectives for this committee. Notably, staff are trying to develop a plan for the engagement opportunities the subcommittee can work on and or ideas for the 2024 Heritage Summer Student.
I wonder if we could defer that one.
We don't need to necessarily. defer it,
I
but-
thought you said, this is a goal to,
Mhm,
okay, I got you. The goal's fine. We just don't have anyone to assign to it. Okay, are we good with that? Got a motion to move?
Yeah,
Andy?
so I gotta make the resolution.
Oh, you didn't do that yet?
That staff report HER 2023-024 entitled the 2022 through 2026 goals and objectives update be received for information.
Mover, Andy, motion, second, I can get there. And all in favor? Thank you. Ready for the correspondence? We have one item on the correspondence list for the agenda, which is the Pusslinch Historical Society letter, and I think we didn't expect the delegation, but we will take that letter into the resolution.
Is there any comments?
Any comments? It was.
You want us to leave?
No, it was just, I don't know if you saw the letter. There's just a letter that was given with like an introduction of what the Historical Society,
You
Does.
submitted it.
but it was,
We
your
just included that
presentation
in
would
the
be
agenda.
like 10 times more, so it's, I think thank you for both the letter and for the.
The resolution can be that the correspondence item 9.1 introduction to Pusslinch Historical Society and the 2023 update be received for information.
Thank you. So moved over Christine and seconder and all in favor. You good? Okay, item 10 is announcements. Is there anything? Item 11, any motions, notices of motion? None. Any new business? Winding down here. Okay, are we ready to adjourn?
I'll move adjourn.
That the Heritage Advisory Committee hereby adjourns at 2:02 p.m.
Done, we have a first for the motion, Andy, and a seconder, Christine, thank you very much, all in favor. This meeting is now adjourned. Well, you have a resolution for that. Did we get it?
No, I did a
Okay,
resolution.
Yeah.
I'm confused,
Yeah, it's done.
sorry.
It's okay, we're done. You called it, go to, we're good.